So when you're working as a developer, whether a consultant, freelancer, employee, you want to have the confidence of your client or your boss, your manager, because when you have their confidence, they're going to give you more freedom in making decisions around the way that your team works. They're going to give you more autonomy. The tool sets that you want to put in place, the cool continuous integration workflow you want to put in place, the test-driven development stuff you want to put in place. You're going to get more freedom to do those things when you have their trust and their confidence. And one of the things I've noticed is there's such a huge difference between when you're working with a developer who really takes ownership of the final product versus somebody that says, hey, I worked on X, Y, and Z, and here you go, and maybe it's working, maybe it isn't, as the client or whatever. They test it, they find some issue with it, they tell you about it. Now, whether there's a reason why there's that issue or not, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Like that back and forth, especially if you go back and forth multiple times, and you're like, oh, this is the reason for that. You fix it, they check it again, they find something else. That whole process is so exhausting, like for the client, and you quickly just you go from like, this is a person I can just hand stuff to this is a person I have to like micromanage, and it just completely changes the dynamic of the relationship. So I just always think it's so important to really take ownership and to make sure stuff works. Some organizations obviously have big QA departments and developers aren't really involved in QA. Other companies are smaller. I'm generally coming from a perspective, I've been in smaller environments where I've done a lot of my own testing, regardless of whether I was supposed to or not. But it's just such a huge difference between somebody, again, you can just hand stuff to, know it's going to be taken care of, know that smart decisions are going to be made. Even if as the client you didn't specify it perfectly right, they're going to just use a lot of common sense. If there's a different direction that should be taken, they're going to let you know, is just huge. And another one of the dynamics is that level of detail, attention to detail, can change over time. So somebody who was, really paying a lot of attention to detail, 6 months down the line, all of a sudden can be paying less attention. And as the client, you're going like, what's going on? I feel like things used to just be smoother and easier, and I don't understand why they're not anymore. And they might not communicate that correctly. They might start to say, well, you got to do X, Y, and Z, and put rules in place that might be dumb rules, or things that are a waste of your time, or additional layers of complexity don't need to be there. But they're just trying in an imperfect way to get back to that dynamic that they had before, or get to a dynamic they had with another person where things would just get done. Now, you can't read somebody's mind, obviously, so it's not that you should be able to read somebody's mind, but again, just being able to really take ownership, almost extreme ownership of any final product. So it's not just, oh, I did this and it works in this situation. It's okay, it's live and customers are interacting, website users are interacting with it in this way. You didn't foresee that, but like, oh shoot, let me jump on that, let me figure that out, kind of a thing.